The all-new Kentaurosmon is here and it's got a bunch of really cool effects and combos that you can pull off. Digimon fans, welcome back, and today we'll be showcasing the all-new Kentaurosmon deck. With the new support from BT13 versus Royal Knights, we got some really neat ways to play and bring out this Digimon. Sampson, who is the dedicated tamer for this archetype, allows you to Warp Digivolve Kudamon into Kentaurosmon just like the Data Squad show. If you guys want to know more how it all works, don't worry, as I'll be covering everything you need to know later in the combo segment. But first, let's show you guys what we got for the build today. Okay, let's begin with the Digi-Egg cards. First and foremost, we got the 4 copies of Kudamon from BT13. You return once per turn. When a card is removed from your security stack, one of your Digimon gains jamming for the turn. And just a really nice once per turn effect and heritable to have. We're going to be removing quite a few of our own security cards with the whole effects and the whole combos later on anyways. And this is why giving us jamming is always a very nice one to definitely have when it comes to comboing. Then, let's move into our rookies. First, we got the 4 copies of the brand new Kudamon. It has a on-play revealing top 3 cards of your deck, adding yourself 1 yellow Digimon with vaccine trait and 1 yellow tamer card among them from your hand, and place the rest back to the bottom. This is a fantastic searching effect because it helps you grab basically almost anything you would really need to find for this entire archetype. It mainly can search for a Kentaurosmon and also helping you search for Sampson, which is your main tamer that you always want to be seeing when you're going for the warp combos essentially. Then it has a inheritable of 1 attacking once per turn. If there are 6 or fewer total cards in both players' security stacks, then one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2000 DP for the turn. And yeah, you're always going to be fulfilling and trying to get to that 6 security stack threshold with total of both your opponents together, so that you can do a lot of effects and have a lot of combos and synergy, and you're going to be seeing a lot throughout this entire deck profile. Then we are kind of bringing back the older Kudamon right here, which is the promo one, which came out quite a while ago, essentially, which lets you, on play, return 1 Kentaurosmon from your trash to the bottom of your deck to trigger recover 1. It has the inheritable of on deletion, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 1000 DP for the turn. It's not like a super good effect that you always tend to resolve, but this is, in my opinion, the second best Kudamon that you want to be seeing, because you do want to fulfill as many Kudamons as possible, because you're going to be doing the warping combo quite often in this particular build and style of how you want to approach it. And overall, this is the reason why I run 4 copies. It's definitely not mandatory and not necessary to run 4 copies of this particular guy. You guys can juggle around and play around with all the other Kudamons that are available, but I just generally like to stick to this one because it has sort of the better effect out of everyone else. Did you guys know that I actually posted this deck list on the Avault Club membership way before this video came out already? If you're not part of it yet, then be sure to join right now by clicking on the join button or the link in the top right iCard. By joining, you will get access to all my early first draft deck lists and updates before anyone else. Also, make sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for more Digimon deck profiles and videos on the channel. Don't forget to give this video a like while you're at it, as I really appreciate the support from all of you guys. That's basically it for our rookies. Don't be shocked, don't be alarmed. We only play 8 rookies specifically. We have a very different strategy to help us win the games other than just sort of building the typical Digivolution stack. Now, first and foremost, let's move on to a level 4. We have GeoGreymon, which digivolves for 2 on top of any Agumon with dinosaur as traits, but we don't play any of that, so therefore we have to pay its regular 3 costs to digivolve instead. But it has such a great value effect because when digivolving, it lets you play a red or yellow tamer from your security stack, and then you get to recover 1 afterwards. Again, being able to access like a completely different realm of resources is what makes this card super good. It also has a inheritable of when one of your red or yellow tamers becomes suspended, you get to delete when your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less. Therefore, you know, 2 copies is really all you need. You don't really want to be playing more of it. It's definitely a nice to have for sure, which is why I decided to include this. Then as we move on to the level 4s, we are playing 4 copies of Kudamon. This is sort of like a yellow hybrid based build, which gives us an alternative strategy to help us win the games other than just relying on the warping combo or sort of even digivolving through the stack, which is a very good alternative. And that's the whole reason why we play a lot of yellow tamers, which we will be talking about more later on. But yeah, simple hybrid for game, or hybrid to make barrage attacks if you really need to. And then of course we have Zephyrmon, 3 copies of, another one that can digivolve for 2 on top of tamers. Otherwise you can digivolve for 1 cost on top of level 4s. Otherwise it costs 3 on top of any other level 3. So you do rack up quite a lot of hybrids here. That's it for our level 4s. Now we're going to move on to our level 5. Since we're talking about yellow hybrids, we do have to include at least one copy of Jet Sophie, just still one of the strongest hybrid cards out there. It is restricted down to 1, therefore, you know, we can still be playing 1, can Digivolve for 1 effectively because it reduces the 2 cost if you're Digivolving on top of a Digimon that has a Tamer underneath it, and then immediately when Digivolving, you get to recover 1 with no caveats whatsoever. It's just ultra value and absolutely one of the best cards out there. For our other level 5s, we got 3 copies of Rise Greymon here. This one is also particularly my favorite one, just because when Digivolving, it lets you play a yellow Tamer card from your hand for free, but you don't get any on-play effects, which is totally fine because most of them don't have on-play effects that we have other than TK. It has the inheritable of your turn. While you have 3 or more yellow Tamers in play, this Digimon gains security +1. You guys know I love the aggression, extra damage to, you know, push for game, make aggressive style attacks, and yeah, that's really what I want to go for. Therefore 3 is just really good enough. That's it for our level 4s. You guys might be wondering, it's very unusual with all the different like obscure ratios that we're playing in the deck, but don't worry, once again, I'll show it for you guys. This is a very different build that I'm approaching, and I play tested quite a bit, and it's actually been working quite nicely. So let's move on into our level 6s. We got 4 copies of Kentaurosmon right here. With the brand new Kentaurosmon, this card alone does so many things, even for the 5 Digivolution cost. It has an on-play and when Digivolving effect. If there's 6 or fewer security cards in the total of both players, you basically get to gain 3 memory back, and then you get to reveal 1 card from your hand. If it's yellow, you get to basically put it at the top of your security stack, and if it's not, you return it to the hand. Ideally, this entire deck is all yellow based anyways, therefore you always get to recover 1 essentially with this effect, but you can also set up with potential other cards and have other combos with this particular guy to give you maximum value overall. It has a secondary effect where when attacking once per turn, by trashing the top card of your security, unsuspend this Digimon, and one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 7,000 DP for the turn. Once again, we're going to show you guys with a few other cards that has a lot of combo synergy with this particular effect, because by applying this effect with your first one, you can actually set up what cards you want to trash specifically, and then you gain even extra value overall. But yeah, just a really cool new card. I definitely like this new Kentaurosmon a lot just because it does so many cool things, and yeah, just really nice card. Then for the other Kentaurosmon, we still want to run at least 1 copy of the older one. You guys can run 2 if you would like as well, because it just has a simple 3 cost to Digivolve, which is more memory efficient than the other one, especially when it comes to the early stages of the game. I treat this as more of like a tech one, just because of its when Digivolving, up to 5 of your opponent's Digimon gain security -2 until the end of the opponent's turn. And then it has a secondary effect of on deletion. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 11,000 DP for the turn. So, you know, giving you a little bit of defense right here, this guy particularly, but I do obviously prefer the offensive one just because the newer one has a lot more different applications and different ways to play it. Then to round off for all of our Digimon, we do have 2 copies for level 7 of Giasmon GX right here. It can mainly Digivolve for 5 costs on top of a Roaring Knight, so then we can actually utilize this effect of when Digivolving to tuck something that's 13 play cost underneath it, and then we can go for aggressive attacks, we can go for the blitz, we gain security +1 for every Roaring Knight and its sources, we get piercing, blocker, and all that really cool stuff. And you guys know how much aggression I really like, which I find it very suitable as a very good level 7 top end for this particular build and deck overall. That's it for all of our Digimon. Now let's talk about our Tamers. We got 4 copies of Richard Sampson right here. This is the main tamer of the deck. It's not a memory tamer, but it has a very interesting new effect, because when the effect trashes this card from the security stack, it lets you play it for free. And you guys can see it's going to have a lot of combo and synergy with our new Kentaurosmon. Start a main phase. If there are 6 or fewer total security cards in both players' security stacks, you basically gain 1 memory. Then it has a third effect. Main. If there are 6 or fewer total security stacks in both players' security stack, by suspending this tamer, one of your Kudamon can Warp Digivolve directly into a Kentaurosmon from your hand for paying its Digivolution cost, but ignoring its level. So then you can just jump straight from Kudamon, like I mentioned, to Kentaurosmon to make an explosive play just like that. Is definitely a very nice approach that you want to be always seeing, and wanting to set yourself up for that condition all the time. Then we still got a lot of other tamers. We got play 3 copies of TK and Kari right here. Start of your turn, if you have fewer security cards than your opponent, you simply just gain 2 memory immediately, and it's going to happen quite often. So then this tamer gives you a lot of value. It has a secondary effect of your turn. when one of your other yellow Digimon attacks, suspend this tamer to have one of your opponent's Digimon get minus 1000 DP for the turn. And yeah, I definitely like to see this as much as we can, because we're always trying to set up a security. Might be a little bit lower than our opponents, but you know, it pressures our opponents from attacking us and we gain just so much value off of it. Then for a very similar application, we play 2 copies of Taikari. I honestly want to play 3 copies of this, but deck space is getting a little bit tight, so therefore 2 is what I settled with, and I like to prioritize the TK Kari for this particular build, and I feel like it has a lot more synergy. Overall, start of your turn, if you have 3 or fewer security cards, you gain a memory. If your opponent has 3 or fewer as well, you gain another memory. And then it also has the secondary effect of your turn. When one of your red or yellow Digimon attacks, by suspending them, you can minus 2000 DP to your opponent's security Digimon overall, so they can ensure yourself, you know, swing safely into your opponent's attack so you don't get deleted as often. But yeah, 2 copies is really all you need. Then to round off our tamers, I also play 2 copies of TK. Also, arguably, I want to kind of play 3 copies, but again, deck space is kind of tight. You know, it is your main memory tamer of deck, with its on-play effects letting you search your security, adding a yellow card particularly, so that you can recover 1. If you don't add a yellow card, you don't get to recover, but ideally, you're always going to be finding yourself a yellow card, a yellow piece that you can particularly have, and giving you extra information so you know what your security is like, so you can set up for later plays even, and if you want to think a little bit ahead, it gives you a lot of like planning, which is always definitely a good approach with this card. That's it for all of our tamers. Now let's just talk about our options. I'm going for a really hyper aggressive approach with 4 copies of Blinding Ray. For 0 cost, you just trash the top card of your security stack and you gain 2 memory. Now a very cool interaction is that if you have no security cards at all, you basically don't have to trash and you just gain 2 memory instantly because they're completely separate effects. I definitely want to maximize the copies of this card because I want to see it as often as possible, and it gives you the control so that instead of controlling your opponent's amount of security, you can control your own instead, and by doing so you gain so much value, and gaining that memory you can go for an incredibly explosive turn to help you meet the 6 or fewer condition with this particular card. And again, gaining memory gives you a lot of like surprise attacks, again, of surprise plays, and your opponents won't expect it and see it coming, which is why I went for this. Then we got 3 copies of Odin's Breath. Some of you guys might be playing 3 to 4 copies just based on your personal preference. It is a main signature move and a dedicated option card of Kentaurosmon. It has a very similar effect with Richard Sampson, because when an effect trashes this card from the security, you get to activate this card's main effect. Keep in mind, not only your own effects that trash this card will get to activate it, also any of your opponent's effects that trashes this card from the security, you get to activate its main effect as well. So what it does is that one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP until the end of the opponent's next turn. Then if there's 6 or fewer security cards in the total of both players' security stack, all your opponent's Digimon gain security minus 1 until the end of the opponent's turn, which is a blanket effect, and just definitely a very cool surprise that your opponent might not be expecting, helping you defensively prolong the game a little bit so then you can go for the big combos once again. And yeah, that's why at least 3 copies of Odin's Breath is necessary. Then for other options, just to round up for some staple stuff, we got 3 copies of Yellow Memory Boost. Because we don't play as many rookies, therefore I will try to add as many Yellow Memory Boosts as I can. I might even debate of adding 4 just so that I can search, find pieces that I really need. And overall, you know, gaining that memory later on to make more plays as usual is always great. And speaking of memory boost, one of the best memory boost options in the entire game, 1 copy of the Reinforcing. Even just for 6 costs, you get to recover 1, set up your security, choose what you like, and also add a card by revealing the top 2 cards of your deck. And delay, it gives you 3 memory, which is even more value when it comes to, you know, making more plays, and just a really nice setup card for sure. That's it for the 50 card main deck. Now let's talk about all the other cards that you guys can actually be playing with a completely different playstyle, or even tech in as just based on your own personal preference overall. First and foremost, I actually want to show you guys and talk about the Liomon, I guess, or the Bancho Liomon package entirely for this deck that is actually also came out from BT13. This entire package right here has quite a lot of synergy when it comes to helping you out with all the similar effects when it comes to Kentaurosmon and being like 6 or fewer security. You know, with Liomon right there, when a security card is removed, you get to gain a memory once per turn, and it's inheritable, you know, giving minus 2000 DP. If there's 6 or more, just like Kudamon. And then with the Liomon, which is the level 4, when attacking by trashing the top card of your security, you can minus 4000 DP to your opponent's Digimon for the turn. And then again, inheritable does exactly the same. Bancho Liomon in particular is a blocker. When Digivolving effect, trashing the top card of your security stack as well. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6000 DP until the end of the opponent's turn, and it has an all turns effect of once per turn when a card is removed from the security stack, you get to play 1 yellow tamer card from your hand for free as well. And just for 3 cost Mega, this has a lot of really decent applications to, again, synergize with the entire deck. And then of course we have another tamer, which is Spencer Damon. All turns once a turn, while a yellow Digimon becomes suspended, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 1000 DP until the end of the opponent's turn. And then end of the turn, once per turn, if there are 6 or fewer total cards in both players' security stack, you get to turn this guy into a 3000 DP Digimon that can't Digivolve, but it has blocker, so giving you a bit of defensive capabilities is kind of nice and kind of cool. But overall, I decided to go for the Yellow Hybrid package instead, just because I feel like it's just more consistent, and the Yellow Hybrid package is just a more of my own personal play style. Then for another Digi-Egg card, you guys can also be running, and other than just the Kentaurosmon, if you guys want to run a 5th egg, you can play Upamon, just because you're always going to be lowering your own security in this particular build. You know, having 3 or fewer when attacking once per turn inheritable lets you draw 1 is still quite a bit of value for sure. Of course, we got some other more like Kentaurosmon related cards that came out from BT13, which we're not playing. We have Repamon right here. You know, when attacking by trashing the top card of your security stack, when your opponent's Digimon gains security -2 until the opponent's turn. It has pretty good applications and combos, especially with your Kentaurosmon. You can give it jamming, you know, and sort of control the board in the early stages of the game with this particular card, which is kind of nice. And then it has the inheritable, just like that we see mostly, minusing 2000 DP for when attacking once per turn if there's 6 or fewer security cards in both players. Total cards count. And then we have a Wizardmon from BT6, a simple inheritable. When a card is removed from your security, gain 1 memory. We do that quite often, as you guys can see from all the other card effects which we talked about in the deck profile. So yeah, definitely has quite some synergy. And then there's BT13 Kentaurosmon right here. It has Barrier. Barrier is a new mechanic or keyword for the game, which basically lets you trash the top card of your security stack to prevent your own Digimon from being deleted by battle, so like security battle or just general battle. So kind of like giving it jamming, which is kind of nice. And then it has the inheritable on deletion, letting you play a Kudamon from your hand or trash for free, which is kind of quite nice value overall. And if anything, I think this is also really decent level 5 to be including, especially if you're going for the stack build version. Then we have another Royal Knight that we can play alongside with this deck, where we have Dynasmon and bring it back from BT6. Now for 4 costs, when Digivolving, it lets you basically search for cards that you really need. By revealing the top 6 cards of your deck, you get to add 2 level 6 or lower Digimon among them, and then you trash the remaining cards. So really nice, kind of good searcher, but also has a secondary effect of all turns once a turn. When a card is removed from your security stack, and if you have 3 or fewer security, you get to instantly recover 1 with this guy, so you can keep yourself in the game a little bit, which is always definitely a nice addition for sure. And then if you guys prefer defensive capabilities, Venusmon is just also a really powerful good card. Even with 4 memory that you have to pay for Digivolving, you basically give your opponent's entire board -1 security blanket effect for when Digivolving an opponent's turn. Anything that has a security attack +1 or minus modifier, you know, they can't activate their when attacking or when Digivolving effects, or even attack this particular Digimon. So yeah, pretty good to help you stall yourself out a little bit, so then when you can go into your late game combos later on, which has good synergy. Then for another card, we can definitely add Shine Gray Ruin Mode right here. In particular, Shine Gray Ruin Mode is also a alternative level 7 to go into instead of Jesmon, but like I said, I like to go for offensive style play, which is why I play Jesmon GX instead of Shine Gray Ruin Mode. But you guys know how powerful this card really is, and all the cool things it can do to control the board as well, and giving you all that value. Then, last but not least, I guess just for removal, you guys can play Long Cage, just one of the best yellow removal option cards currently in the meta. You know, being able to do 2 different things, or if you're in the sweet number of 3 security, you get to do both, minusing 12,000 DP to your opponent's Digimon, and or, you know, also, you know, putting one of their Digimon to the top of their security stack. And yeah, that's just another suggestion right here. That's it for all the cards I wanted to show you guys and talk about. Now let's move into the combos and the how to play section of this particular deck. Now, for your opening hand, ideally, it'd be nice to see some of your Kudamon, so they can either Digivolve it and into the raising, and then basically, you know, draw a card, cycle it. Otherwise, if you have the BT13 one, you know, being able to search is always really nice. However, as you guys may know, this is more of a yellow hybrid based kind of build. Therefore, you know, not seeing your rookie is not the end of the world, but you do want to establish a bit of draw power and search power with yellow memory boost. One or the other is really all you really need. You want to see some of your tamers. That's really what you want to be doing. You want to be playing some of your tamers. Hard playing them for some of the costs in the early stages of the game is totally fine, because it established a lot of value for you. If you guys play yellow Hybrid before, you guys can understand this concept. You know, playing Tamers bit by bit. Taking the game a little bit slow is okay for this particular build, just because you're trying to reach that sweet number of 6 security or less, and sort of kind of like the idea is to bait your opponents to attack you a little bit, and then once you meet that threshold, you can go explosive with your whole combos, and that's how your cards you're trying to look for. Eventually, you do want to be finding your blinding rays, but not in the beginning stages of the game, just because, you know, it can hurt you a little bit. You want to keep it in your hand to go for the explosive attacks, like I mentioned. Anyways, hatch your egg, Digivolve into your Kudamon, otherwise hard play it, and then set up your memory boost and stuff like that, and then just play whichever tamer you ever have on hand. And, you know, ideally, early stages of the game, seeing your TK and your TK carries are always the more value, you know, because it kind of like prevents your opponent from wanting to chip you as much, so then you can, you know, have a bit more time to set up again. But if they do chip you down, then that's totally fine. Then that gives you more memory to play and do all the combos. So that's the really main idea, is you really want to reach to the 6 or fewer security stacks, so then you can eventually just warp Digivolve your Kudamon into Kentaurosmon. Therefore, Rich Sampson is incredibly crucial for this combo, and which is also why you want to save your blinding rays generally right there. So once you have a Kudamon on board, once you either move one up or you have one here prior on the board that you hard played, and you have 6 or fewer security stacks in both your opponents, you know, if you don't use your blinding rays to cut yourself down, so then you can go for the warping combo with Richard Sampson right here, digivolving one of your Kudamons directly into Kentaurosmon right here, and then you can come back and make some really cool plays there. The whole idea is then, you know, with its effect, you get to gain 3 memory back once you digivolve it, and then you get to use this when digivolving effect, or on play, mostly when digivolving, to put either one or two of these cards, you know, back to the top card of your security, either one of them, so that when you swing and use its secondary effect, when attacking, you trash the top card of your security stack. If you trash Odin's Breath, then you get to use that effect to minus 3000 DP and give your entire opponent's board security -1 as well, and then as well unsuspend minus 7k to your opponent something while you're doing so. If you trash Richard Sampson, you just get to immediately play it just like here instead, which is totally fine. Now, this is one way to get into Kentaurosmon, which is the main, you know, easy way, but there are several ways you can be playing and getting into it, which is why I really like the Yellow Hybrid package. Sometimes you do have to just move up and digivolve for 2 on top of your tamers. By gaining a lot of memory with these kind of like different memory tamer effects, you know, it's just ultra value for you, because it gives you the versatility to make those plays. Then you can digivolve into Greymon. You know, even in early stages of the game, seeing this guy is just really, really good, and it benefits you a lot because you can play these tamers for free. And again, you don't get on-play effects, except therefore it's only just TK, but all these other guys don't have on-play effects, so it's value. So instead of just warping your Kentaurosmon, you can even just digivolve into this Kentaurosmon. Now, don't be too greedy about, you know, having 6 or fewer security cards. Sometimes you do have to pay the 5 memory. If you start your turn with like 3 or 4, or even sometimes at 5, you can just pay the full 5 memory anyways and get into this one early. And if you have another one in your hand, then you can get into it later on. You know, just be patient and whatnot, because then you can go for some aggressive plays with this particular card anyways if you have 3 or more securities established. This is why Rise Gray has so much value for this particular deck, because you can just swing, trash your own security, unsuspend, that's 2 checks, minus 7k to your opponent's Digimon again, and do really explosive plays, and that's like 4 securities in total overall. And then of course with Kyarumon's Inheritable, if you have it on the board and if you ever trash your own security while doing so, this Digimon doesn't necessarily have to gain Jamming. You can give it to another Digimon, so you can give it to this Kentaurosmon that you have on the board. So really, really like it overall too. Again, that's when you would play the blinding rays to help you meet those conditions. Now, if you ever want to go for even more push for aggressive game attacks for mid game, you can Digivolve with Jesmon GX right here. Jesmon GX can help you, you know, slide another Kentaurosmon underneath from your trash or from your hand. Either two works right here, so you can give more aggression. You can activate their when digivolving effects all over again. And yeah, just a lot of value when you get there. You can just blitz and swing and do a whole lot of crazy combos just like that, which is why I really like Jesmon GX in this particular build. And last but not least, as you guys may know, this is the Yellow Hybrid based deck. Therefore, as a alternative win condition, which I find really crucial, because with the normal stack building Kentaurosmon, it's a very linear style of play. You either stack Digivolve or you would have to Warp Digivolve and to help you finish games. But it's not reliable enough in my opinion. Therefore, I like the Yellow Hybrid package, because then you can always just Digivolve into your Tamers and go Hybrid for game one at a time to help you secure those wins and secure those games, and which the deck I felt was missing to begin with. But yes, overall, this gives you 3 different like sort of plans of attacks. You know, you can go into Kudamon and warp into Kentaurosmon, or you can kind of build your stack with the hybrid packages. So go into Rise Gray, go for offensive style, and then go into Jesmon GX, or you can just go wide with different hybrids one at a time again, like I mentioned, to make those attacks so that you can swing for games, and that's how you want to win with this particular deck and particular build of my own play style. Now wrap up for the deck profile for today. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. Once again, be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for more BT13 content. If you guys just can't wait and want to see early deck lists and first drafts, then once again, definitely join the Avault Club. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is Avault signing out.